I have recently changed my color grade slightly and I believe some of you have already noticed. Grading a video has always been so challenging and used to take a lot of time. Even after spending a lot of time, the results were not too great and everything looked all over the place. But as time went on, as I started watching a lot of tutorials from other YouTubers, I started to realize a lot of mistakes that I have been making. Then eventually, as I kept doing it, the note structure on Davinci Resolve became more understandable and easy. I have built my very own symbol note structure which I will be showing you in this video. So without wasting anybody's time, let's start this tutorial. I have three footages right here. This is shot from Sony, this is from iPhone, and this is from a drone. I'll be showing you the different steps for each of this because it's slightly different from one another. So bear with me here. So the very first thing that I do is, since I have a Mac, I go to color management. This will be the default right here. So the very first thing I do is I toggle this on and make sure this is in Rec 709A and output color space also Rec 709A. I found that once you put this setting, then after export, once you view it on TV or something, the colors don't change. But if it's in the default setting right here, there is a slight difference in the colors, like there is a color shift right here. But if you don't have a Mac, if you have a Windows, you can leave this to Gamma 2.4 and it will have the best results. But since I have a Mac, I am going to leave it to Rec 709A and then I hit save. So now let's get to our footages right here. So this is the Sony S-Log2 footage I shot from my Sony a6600. Then we have a shot, this is shot from an iPhone 12 Pro actually. And then we have a drone footage. This is shot from the DJI Mini 2. So the steps are a bit different in each of this. So let's get going. So the most difficult color grading step is for the Sony footage because it's shot in the log profile. But these two are just 2 or 3 steps, so it will be much easier. But once you understand the steps that I'm going to be showing you in this footage, the iPhone and the drone footage's color grading becomes really simple. Okay, so let's start. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to the color tab. So this is the footage that I have. Okay, so I'm going to be naming each node so that you can take screenshots and you can apply it on your color grading nodes as well. So let me first create a couple of nodes right here. You can click Option plus S to create nodes like this. So I'm going to leave 4 on the top and then 4 below. I'm not going too crazy here. It's really simple nodes. Now let's name this one by one. So in this node is where I want to transform this footage from log to the Rec 709. So I'm going to name this color space transform. So we will do that first. So the color space transform, you have to come to effects, go to color space transform and just drag it right here. In this you have to select the input color space. So I shot this in Sony S-Gamut 3 Cine. If you want to know which settings you shot at, you can check your camera. It will be mentioned there. So my setting is this right here. And my input gamma is S-Log2. So I have to select that one right here. Then the output color space, this is the standard one which I have to change it to. So I have to change to Rec 709. But as I told you before, since I have a Mac, I would want to change this to Rec 709A. But if you have a Windows, you can leave this to the Gamma 2.4 which you have set in that color tab settings. So once you have this is how your footage is looking. Already it's looking more better than the footage that you had. Now why you want to shoot with S-Log2 is there is a lot of flexibility in color grading. You can do a lot of stuff. If you shoot in S-Log2, you have a lot of dynamic range to work with. which is why it's always better to shoot in a flat picture profile like S-Log2 or S-Log3. So once we have this, the next thing that I usually do is I come to my curves and I check this graph right here. If you don't have this graph showing here, you can select parade or waveform, whichever is comfortable to you, but I usually like parade, so it shows individual wave point for each of the colors like red, blue and green. Now this is one of the best sort of visual representation for your colors, because not all of your monitors are color calibrated, so you don't know if the colors showing is accurate or anything, which is why you have this graph right here. So this graph goes from 0 to 1023. So the basic technique is you want the blacks to be almost touching the 0 and you want the white to be a bit below this particular line. So if you increase this to above that value, you can see the image is completely washed out. You don't want that. And similarly, if you just decrease this black point, you can see footage completely dark, and you don't want that as well. I want the whites to be a bit below the 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 line, and I want the blacks slightly to be touching on the 0 line. We have a good reference there, and now you can see the complete image, the exposure has come down. So if you want, you can just increase the midpoint, that is in this case the skin tones are the midpoints. I can slightly give it a increase. Okay, I think it's good. So you can see the before after just by clicking here. It looks much better. Next I go to the, okay, first I forgot to name this one. I'm going to name this exposure. Then in this particular node, I like to create a contrast. Now the easiest way to create a good contrast is you create an S curve. So for that, the step that I do is I click on these three dots right here and click on editable splines. So what it does is it makes, it gives a nice sort of spline which you can adjust. So what I like is I like to create a S curve. S curve equals contrast. So now still I can see the wave look decent. Nothing is going above this and nothing is going below this. And I created a nice smooth S curve, and you can see the before after. It sorts of make your footage pop, which is what I want. And I'm going to name this S curve. So you have that ready. Now if you want, you can go with this itself. It still looks very nice. If you want to stylize it more and if you want to make it more cinematic, you can add your LUT here. So in my case, I'm using my very own LUT. If you want this, you can download it from the link in the description. And I'm going to be giving you a sort of giveaway for this LUT. So stay until the end of the video to know more about it. 5 of you will be getting this LUT for free, absolutely free. So I will be telling you the steps for it in this video. But for those who didn't win this contest, you can buy it from the store. I have put the link in the description. So the LUT is this one right here, Fenzir LUT. It's sort of a nice teal and orange look. You can leave right here if you want, but normally what I do is wait, first of all let me just name this node. You can leave it right here if you want, but I would like to play a little more. What I do is I come to the next node. I am going to name this contrast again. I want to make the videos pop a little more. So in this contrast tab right here, I put a value like 1.1. Okay, it looks really nice right there. And this node, I'll come to it later. But first let's work on this node. This I'm going to name it sharpen. Like Sony cameras, I leave the camera sharpness all the way to -7 because I prefer adding sharpness in the editing rather than from the camera. Now I come to the sharpen tool. This is the one for sharpening. You have to decrease it If you decrease more, it's going to be more sharp, but the sweet spot is like 0.48 or 0.47. I'm going to leave to 0.48 in this case. Okay, and next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this color space to lab. Now why I'm doing this is it's sort of it's found to work best if it's in this particular setting. I've been seeing other tutorials and I found this is the best value for your sharpening node to change that color space to the lab. So do not forget this one to change it to lab, but there is no much difference that you'll feel, but I found from other tutorials that this is the best color space for your sharpening node. So once you have that, then we have our dehancer tool. I'm going to be using my grain, halation, gloom, all those in this particular node. It should always be before the sharpening node, so make sure that it always comes before that one. Now, Dehancer is a really powerful plugin. If you want to download it, also I'll leave a link in the description. And if you use my coupon code, which I will also leave in the description, you can get 10% off for your purchase. They are not sponsoring this video, but I really found this tool to be really powerful, and I've been using it ever since they sent it to me for my previous videos, and it's really powerful. You know, you have all the powerful film tools right here, but I don't use much of this. I only use it to add in grain and halation and gloom. So the only setting that I used is first I used film compression. So it's sort of like you can increase the saturation without affecting the video pretty much. It sort of create like a nice film camera feel. And next thing I'm going to add is grain. So I don't leave it default, I'll change it to custom. I don't want much size. Let me first enable it first. I decrease the grain in the shadows and highlights, and I sort of want the mid-tone grain to be a bit more than the shadows and the highlights. Then when it comes to halation, again custom. Source limiter means you're limiting the effect, the overall effect, but I think you can play with it if you want. I leave it around 20-25. That's it. I don't play much right here. Then the bloom, again custom, enabled. Source limiter, again I don't want much of it. I increase the diffusion slider a bit. Okay, so this is what I have with the dehancer turned off, turned on. It's like a really powerful plugin. Like if you don't want to put a LUT, you can put all other film emulation right here itself, but I just like to do grain, halation and gloom using dehancer. I leave all the other things as it is. So this is the finished product that I have. Nothing too complicated, it's easy. Now you can again come back and play with individual nodes right here if you want, if you feel to change any other setting. So this is a simple node structure, and now you might be wondering, why do I leave this node open? So this is usually for white balance. So let me name it first. So normally in this video I think the white balance looks okay, but if you feel the white balance is off, you can always adjust that here. You can select something that is white, something for example right here, and change the overall white balance. But in this case I'm happy with the look, so I leave it as it is. Now when it comes to iPhone footage, you know, there is no any log format or anything for my 12 Pro. So I don't have to do all these settings like color space transform or S-curve, because already the image is very contrasty. So first thing I do is I copy this LUT and just select apply grade. So it's going to apply all the same effect, but I don't want this right here. I can delete it. And I don't want the S-curve, but I want the exposure because I want to do a few adjustments, and I don't want the contrast, and I don't want the sharpen also because already the iPhone footages are very sharp. Only 4 nodes, but you can see you can play with the exposure. Let me adjust this one. But you cannot go very crazy with the iPhone color grading because it's not a flat picture profile. Let me turn off the editable splines. You need to be very gentle grading an iPhone footage because you don't have much dynamic range to work with. So I'm gonna just do a slight color grading, and in the white balance I think I can make it a bit more warm, and the saturation is not enough. So what I normally do is I click on this particular node and I select option plus P, so it creates a parallel node. Okay, so what it does is whatever adjustment I do here, it's going on top of this. It's a more complicated explanation. In simple terms, it's like if you want to make adjustment to like individual saturations, hue and everything, it's always to do it on a parallel node. I can create as much parallel node I want, but I'm not going to complicate things. I just want a single parallel node. So both of these inputs go to this right here and it's going to the dehancer node. So here what I'm going to do is I like to increase the saturation a bit. Maybe like 100 is too much, maybe like 90 or 80. Yeah, I think this is good. So if I click before after, you can see the greens are now much more brighter and overall the video looks so much better. So without color grade, you can see this is the iPhone footage, and after the color grade, this is what I have. And for the drone also, it's very similar to the iPhone node structure. So I'm going to copy and apply grade. But in this case, I don't want this particular node. I don't think the footage needs that much saturation. So I'm going to delete this one. I don't want that. And the exposure, I'm going to reset. I'm going to play with this. Maybe again, you should be very careful because it's not a log format. So nothing crazy here. I'm going to increase the mids a bit high. There you have it. It's very simple, just 4 nodes, and I have a nice drone color grade as well. Now it'll be before, after. So this LUT is very powerful. It works with all sort of cameras. Now in this case it's Sony, there is iPhone, and there is drone footage as well. So if you shot with a Canon camera, for example, you have to change the color space transform setting right here. There is a lot of camera options right here, like Blackmagic, Panasonic, everything is right here. In this case, I shot in S-Log 2, which is why I'm leaving it right here. But the LUT, I'm not adjusting anything. You just leave as it is, and it's a really powerful LUT. It works with outdoor, indoor, and all situations. And it's a nice teal and orange look, so it really adds that cinematic look to your video. See the video, for example, without it and with it, you can see how rich the footage has become. It's really going to bring your videos to the next level. Now talking about the LUT and the LUT giveaway, first the LUT, it's available on the link in the description. It's not very expensive and you get the desired look as I've shown you. For any sort of footage, whether it is drone footage, iPhone footage, or your camera footage. Now it took really a lot of time and effort to create this LUT from scratch. It's like an easy click to really transform your videos to a proper cinematic look. So you can really transform your videos by downloading this LUT, and also it supports my channel in some way. And also I'm giving away this LUT for free for 5 people. For this you need to do 3 simple things. The very first thing, you need to subscribe to my channel. Which I know you already did, but if you didn't, now is the time. And secondly, you have to comment teal and orange. That's it. You have to comment that on this particular video. And thirdly, you have to copy any of my video links from YouTube and put as your Insta status, and you should tag me. I'll leave my Insta account right here. So these are the only 3 things that you have to do, and I'll be selecting 5 winners from that, and it's going to be completely random, and I'm going to be sending the LUT for free for all these 5 people. And also you can keep in touch with me, like if you have any doubt in how to install them or anything. And secondly, if you want to use the dehancer tool that I told you about, you can use this code right here to get 10% off on your additional purchase. As I told you, this is not a sponsored video from Dehancer, but they did sponsor my video previously and I have been using their tool ever since. It's really powerful tool. You can do a lot of things with Dehancer. It can really make your color grading flow very easy as well. Now, if you don't want to use any sort of color grade or anything, you can just go ahead and use the Dehancer tool to get it started, because it has everything. You can build everything from scratch and make your video really stand out and look like as if it's shot on a high-end film camera. Now, I hope this video was helpful to you in some way. If you guys have any questions or suggestions, do leave them in the comments as well. I'll be happy to answer each and every one. For those who don't know, I'm Fenzir. I do travel, tech, and filmmaking on this channel. So if you're into that sort of stuff, please consider hitting the subscribe button. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.